Okay, today we are going to have a look at the Wolfbox 900 rear view mirror, camera mirror that I put in. And I just had it put in yesterday, and it's interesting. One of the things about the Grenadier that I feel is a shortcoming is that they didn't include any kind of good visibility out of the back of the car. And I know it's an interest, I'm gonna see how I get used to it as we drive, but I can already tell it's a little bit different, but the visibility was kind of bothering me because I can look behind me and all I really see are the tire and the headrest for the rear seat. And there's a little bit of visibility, and yes, there are mirrors on each side, but it just seems like I'm losing out on an opportunity to have better visibility. So I had a chat with my dealer, and he had one installed in his demo unit, and we were trying it out. So I went ahead and had one installed, and I'll show you the install a little bit later because it's actually the mirror, the dash cam mirror is replacing the original factory mirror. It's not like a strap-on deal because there's a company that actually makes a custom bracket for the G900. So we'll talk about that in a little bit, and hopefully I can show you some angles so you can see what the install looks like and see what you think. So let's go for a drive. I mean, it's interesting. I can already tell just by looking up to where the rear view mirror would be that I'm seeing a lot more information. And I know that there's some adjustments, like this points the camera up and down. And so I guess you want it to look just like a rear view mirror. That looks a little more natural. And then this side has the brightness adjustment. And then this is actually a full-on dash cam. The front is like a 4K camera, and the rear is said to be a 2.5K. I'm not exactly sure what that resolution would be. And before we installed it, I took it out and sort of taped it up and did a little test drive at night because I had read some of the reviews saying some people think it's a little glary and so forth, but I still think having it is better than not having it. And so we'll see. We're going to Costco right now. Comes with a SIM card built in, and then it's also doing a loop recording, and so I'll try and do a few different things and insert that video so that you can sort of see what we're getting out of it. Now, I chose to have this professionally installed. I do know that there are Grenadier owners who have undertaken a self-install for this, and they've done a great job. And I think it depends on your level of expertise for this sort of thing as to whether or not that's something that you want to tackle. I just felt like it was above my scope, and I also wanted them to put in some additional USB power up in the front console. And so I just felt like having a professional installer would sort of guarantee that I'd get the outcome that I wanted and have the wires run properly all the way to the back, because the wires actually run along the side and through that little hose of all the electrics into the rear door, so you can't see any wires. And then the camera is mounted on the inside of the Grenadier up along the back rear window. And so it's a nice clean install, and the camera can't be fiddled with by anybody on the outside. And I think I'm learning about some of the features of the camera, because although I'm using it as a rear view camera, it's actually a dash cam. And so the front camera is constantly recording forward, and it's got like a shock sensor and emergency this and that, and some things that dash cams have. I've not yet had a car with a dash cam, so I'm not familiar with all of the features and benefits, but I just mainly wanted to be able to see who was coming up behind me and, you know, do a little bit better in traffic. So other than the camera, I'm watching it. It's starting to feel more normal now that I look at it. I adjusted it upward, and this camera has a GPS, so it knows which direction I'm heading. I'm heading east, and there's a clock on it, which actually I can see better than the clock in the car. I'm going to point. This is the clock in the car. It's a little teeny thing that I wish was bigger, because it's funny, I do tend to look at the time on clocks in the car. wish they had it bigger, but it's on the mirror and I'm happy about that. So that's kind of a welcome addition. You know, adding this rear view camera just allows me to complete that picture. And frankly, I think that that's something that INEOS should take a look at including in future versions of the Grenadier, is a rear view camera. I think it's kind of a logical fit based on other things out there on offer, and you know, the safety, because they added all these safety features into the car and then just sort of left out the fact that you don't have good visibility out the back. And that's not unique to the Grenadier. There are a lot of cars that have horrid visibility in the rear. So I just think that's something that they can add. So slowly but surely, I'm working on little upgrades to things that I wanted to add. I'm installing some phone mounts, and we put in some USB power right here on both sides of the instrument cluster, or the tunnel, whatever you like to call it, so that I can have power go straight to my charger and not have to run it from behind. And that was something that I had installed at the same time I put in the Wolfbox. And then I had that switched to the upper internal power switch so that I can actually turn it on or off at will. I wanted to break in and talk a little bit about the actual hardware that I used for my install, so that you could better understand what I did. And firstly, I'm starting off with a Wolfbox G900, and originally a lot of Grenadier owners were putting in a G850, I believe, and the 900 came out and it's just newer and it has a slightly better rear camera, so that made a meaningful difference, and so I selected the G900. They just announced a G900 Pro, which apparently has some additional features in the front-facing camera, which is less important to me, and also it's got like phone connection or something, things that don't really improve the rear view part of the system. So you can make that decision on your own. But basically, the things that are important to know is if you want to have an OEM-like installation, you need to buy a part from this manufacturer called 67 Designs. So far, they're the only ones that have created this OEM bracket. And basically, the way the Wolfbox works, it's like an aftermarket thing where you get their mirror and it comes with these straps, and you're supposed to strap it on the front of your existing mirror. And you can do that, and some Grenadier owners have done that. But I wanted to take out my mirror and have just the Grenadier with the Wolfbox mirror, so that I didn't have this stacked mirror in front of me. And that required this bracket. So I'm going to leave a link to the 67 Designs bracket in the description, and it goes in and out of stock regularly. So it's the hard part to get. And I basically, because the Grenadier is sort of new, most installers don't have a lot of experience with the Grenadier. So I got all the parts for my install and said, here, Mr. Installer, this is what I want you to do. So I got the Wolfbox, I got the cord, the cable for it, I got all the accessories, the hardwire kit, and then I also got this bracket so that he could do a complete job with the parts that I had. And you might discuss with your installer whether or not you need to do that. It's probably advisable to get exactly what you want, to buy the parts, because they're aftermarket and available on Amazon. And I'll leave links to the exact things that I purchased in the description down below. And they're affiliate links, and I get a commission apparently if you buy from them, but it doesn't change the price that you pay. And the Wolfbox goes in and out of sale, so be on the lookout for that too. But you need basically to get the Wolfbox itself. You need to get a hardwire installation kit, because the Wolfbox comes with a cigarette lighter adapter, and you obviously want to have the power connected full time. You also want to get I used a 33-foot cable, and basically when I did my installation, I bought a 50-foot, a 33-foot, and then the cable inside comes shorter than that. And so my installer used a 33-foot, and it made it all the way from the front of the car to the back, through the door, and up to the window. So I'm listing that
part in my little list of items. And then I also got a circulating polarizing lens for the front camera. It's an accessory, and it was about $14, I think. And I just didn't know if that was going to help things or not, so I got it. And it's completely optional. Because what you'll find is that the camera front-facing is a little bit blocked by the Grenadier's dash mount camera that, you know, for the automatic braking system, it sort of blocks this rear view mirror dash cam. So it's partially useful, but again, I'm buying this mainly for the rear view camera. And then when it comes to the USB power that I put in, I bought RV-like power brackets that are not switchable. They're full-time power. And many of the things that you'll find on Amazon have on-off switches. And I wanted something that specifically didn't have an on-off switch because I wanted to use my overhead switching in the Grenadier to turn these on and off. So I listed the part that I used in the description. And I put USBs on both sides of the instrument panel and then short cords to phone chargers that clip on to the air vents, because I didn't want to drill any holes in the dashboard. The USB things actually are obviously screwed into the dash, but they look OEM, so I didn't have a problem with that. But when it comes to phone mounts, phones change, you get a different phone and you need a different bracket. I didn't want to risk that, so I got something that just clips on and it doesn't keep me from directing the air. And so I'll list those things in the description as well in case it's something you're interested in, because some people have commented on what they've seen them in my videos because they're front and center, and I put one in for me and one for my passenger, so that's why there's two in there. So I'll jump back to the video now, but I just wanted to kind of be clear that I got the parts for my installer and then he charged me just for the installation of it, because it was a new experience for him too, and he was interested in, even though he had done work with a Grenadier before, he's still, you know, working on his craft. So it was a way for me to be sure that I got what I want. But that 67 Designs mount is probably the key component to getting the OEM type install in the Grenadier. Okay, thanks.
So let's see, now we're in traffic and we'll get a chance to see what this mirror does. It says it's recording. Let's see if we make a recording. No, let's make a recording. Because I don't know how big of a loop it's making, because I want to capture some of this so that I can share it with you. And also remember that I'm driving at the same time. I still have to say that yes, there's some wind noise that creeps up when you start going. We're going about 60 miles an hour, but it's not horrific. I've been driving around a lot with the stereo off, and of course when I record I keep the stereo off because I can't have music content in my video, and so it's forcing me to get used to what it sounds like, because most often we don't drive in our cars with the stereo off. And so it's giving me an opportunity to really hear the sounds that it makes. And I'd have to say, if I notice a rattle, 90% of the time I think it's user caused, because I've got things now in doors and in cubby holes and things. And you know, I remember the day that I collected it and there was nothing in it. It didn't have any squeaks or rattles. There's no squeaks actually, but it didn't have any rattles to speak of. And now sometimes if I go over a bump, I think it's some of my stuff jumping around just a little bit. So I definitely like having that camera. And I have to say that the camera sort of obscures those passenger airbag warning lights that I think are a little bit too bright, because they're on 100% of the time. And it's one of the things I noticed, and you notice it more at night especially. They're pretty bright considering what they are. And the way that they're designed remind me of the overhead warnings that say keep seatbelt fastened, no smoking in an airplane. I mean, it goes with the look of the cockpit and everything, but I don't know that that was their intention. But if you have two people in the seats, then the airbag active warning on one side lights up. In the middle it says passenger airbag, and then on the other side it puts a circle with a slash through it. If somebody's not sitting in that seat, it basically says that the airbag is off. And I think it's a little confusing because I'm pretty sure my airbag system is on and that it's the passenger airbag system that's off, but they don't have lights that address that. So the rearview mirror, I'm starting to get used to it. I think I'll have to take a little drive at night. I wasn't too bothered in my early tests. It seemed like it worked really well. It's a little fuzzier, but it has night vision, so it kind of does well when there's not a lot of ambient light. So I think it's one of those things that I'll get used to. I like being able to see the cars coming up behind me and what's around. So again, another good drive in the Grenadier. I wish I don't have a lot of excuses to drive. It's funny, I'm not the biggest off-roader, and it's kind of ironic that I'm a big fan of off-road cars, and yet I don't really do big off-roading things. I've gone to off-roading events where I'm driving in other people's vehicles because I'm a little too timid to want to do that with my own car. Some of the rock crawling that you do, but it doesn't mean I don't like driving it and owning it. So that was very interesting. I just was in a traffic thing where everybody started slowing down, and in my side mirrors I could see the car that was two cars behind, but there was actually a car right behind me that I didn't see if it weren't for this camera. So that was interesting. It really does show you things that you can't see in these side view mirrors, because the side view mirrors are pretty good. They're helpful. I just feel like there's a little bit more that can be done. Okay, there's a reflection. I just noticed there's a reflection on the mirror, or on the screen, and they sell an anti-glare screen cover, and there's a possibility I may get that because I'm actually seeing some multiple images. That's really interesting, and I guess this is a good test for that. I need to get over to my exit. That's the problem with making a video while you're driving, and you're driving somewhere that you don't know where you are. I'm near home, but I'm doing errands while I'm making this video, and so it's a little crazy because I'm using my GPS to just tell me where to go, so I have to pay attention just a little bit. Okay. So, as I was saying, for the screen of the rear view camera, they do sell a cover, an anti-glare cover, and I think I'm going to install it. I have it already because I ordered it, and I definitely think I'm going to want to add it because there is a lot of glare from other things reflecting on it, and it's causing my focus to confuse a little bit about looking at the picture versus looking at all the things that are reflecting back at me, because it's almost as if it's a mirror as well as a display. Okay, so that's interesting. I also got a cover that I'm going to put on this infotainment system because, quite frankly, it's a little glary and you can't always see what's coming at you or what's showing because there's a lot of glare from the sides. And I think in future versions of the Grenadier they could probably put a better display like an OLED or something that's a little more crisp and clear than this screen. Just, it's okay, but it's not tip top of the line. So as we're driving around and trying to find the Home Depot, I wanted to ask if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you're not already subscribed. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I always forget to ask people if they're watching my videos and enjoying the content or following along to subscribe, please, because it does help me out. And thank you if you do. So I'll stop real quick, and hopefully you can see this mount that's behind here. This mount is by a company called 67 Designs, and they made specifically so that the camera would attach, because the Wolfbox comes such that you can strap this mirror over the existing built-in mirror, and I wanted it to be a little more streamlined and OEM looking, basically. And so I think this is a really tidy installation for a third-party aftermarket solution. So as you can see, it shows you the front and the back camera. It reverses their order. That is the front only camera, and this right here is the little block that the mirror is actually attached to, because there's a speed warning camera inside of that. And then we'll go back, and then that's our rear view camera, and then there's a person here that wants to go around me, so we'll get out of the way. So let me know in the comments questions that you might have about the Grenadier, whether you're an owner, because I'm finding a lot of people that watch my videos already own Grenadiers, and so I'm learning things from you. And then also, if you're looking to buy a Grenadier or you haven't ordered yet, you're thinking about it, what kinds of questions you have, because I'm still learning things about the car. So as I get to my next destination, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I really appreciate you watching the video. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.